I was at a dinner recently, and as it often does these days, the topic of AI came up. A friend turned to me and asked, "So do you think AI is going to replace psychologists?" Before I could even answer him, he continued.
I mean, it has to, right? Wow. AI can memorize every disorder, every treatment technique. It's available 24/7.
I remember sitting there thinking, how did we get here? How did we get to a place where people think that is all therapy is? Because if you believe that psychologists simply memorize disorders and recite treatment techniques, then you fundamentally misunderstood why people seek therapy in the first place. Now, you might be thinking, Andrew, I'm not a psychologist, so why should I care about whether you're replaced by AI or not? To me, this question is just as much about AI's impact on therapy as it is about what it means to be human. So the question we're faced with isn't whether AI can give us the recipe for mental health. The question is, are we going to lose something fundamentally important, navigating it alone? I mean, we've seen this pattern before. We've replaced in-person connection with social media, intimacy with pornography. Each time, we chose convenience, and each time, the data showed the same result. We became lonelier, more anxious, and less able to connect in real life. And in my opinion, AI therapy risks doing exactly the same thing. Now, before we go any further, I need to address my obvious bias. Of course, I'm going to say AI can't replace me. So to be intellectually honest, let me try and make the strongest argument against my own profession. And frankly, it's not a hard argument to make, because the reality is humans are flawed. Therapists get tired. We have biases, we have bad days, and we aren't always accessible, whether that's due to cost or the constraints of time. And AI, on the other hand, never gets tired, it doesn't judge you, it's available at 3 a.m. on a Sunday, it's cheaper, and it has access to every research paper ever published. If we're looking at this purely as a data processing problem, the AI wins hands down. But that victory relies on a single assumption, that the only thing standing between us and our mental health is better information. This question of whether AI is going to replace therapists tells me we think therapy is simply about providing answers. You bring me a problem and I give you the solution. Like tech support for the human mind. And if that was all therapy was, then yes, psychologists would have been replaced a long time ago. Not by AI, but by a Wikipedia page or a self-help book. Now, don't get me wrong, for a lot of people, that's all they need. But when you look at what's happening on a larger scale, you notice something doesn't quite add up. Because right now, we currently have access to more information about mental health than any generation in human history. So if information was the cure, shouldn't the demand for therapy be going down? In Australia alone, the rate of mental health disorders in young people has jumped from 26% to nearly 40% in the last 15 years. Why? Because mental health is almost never a knowledge problem. People don't go to therapy because they lack information. They go to therapy because they're stuck. They're stuck in patterns of shame, trauma, and fear. And that is something information and logic alone cannot solve. Getting unstuck often requires something uncomfortable. Being challenged, having someone notice the patterns you can't see, being told things you didn't want to hear. And this brings us to a fundamental flaw of AI therapy. AI models are programmed to be helpful and aligned with the user. Their goal is to accept your views and beliefs. But in therapy, your beliefs are often the problem. If you come believing everyone hates me, an AI will validate how hard that must feel. It will give you coping strategies for loneliness because it works from the data you provided. But a psychologist knows that the most important data is usually the stuff you aren't sharing. We're constantly looking for your blind spots. And because you can't see them, you don't type them into the chat. So the AI optimizes for a false reality. It becomes a high-tech echo chamber that reinforces the very beliefs that are keeping you stuck. And this is exactly why the information argument fails. Let's take the fitness industry, for example. Why do personal trainers still have a job when there are thousands of free, high-quality videos explaining every exercise known to man? You might think, well, that's because people are lazy. They just don't want to put in the effort to learn for themselves. But if that were true, then no top-tier athlete would have a coach. Athletes are among the most disciplined, driven people on the planet. They know more about their sport than anybody else. So why do the best in the world still hire trainers? It's obviously not because they're lazy, and it's not because they don't know the steps. It's because even the best in the world cannot see their own form while they're running. They need someone to see the blind spots that they cannot see themselves. But seeing the problem is only the first step. The second part of the puzzle is showing up to do the work, and that requires accountability. Now, an AI isn't going to care if you've completed your journaling. It isn't going to pick up the phone when you ghost your session because you're depressed. A therapist, on the other hand, provides the accountability that bridges the gap between knowing and doing. So does that mean AI has no place in mental health? I'm not saying that at all. When antidepressants were first introduced in the 1950s, some people thought it would make therapy obsolete. But it didn't. Instead, what they did was help manage symptoms, which allowed therapists to focus on the deeper work of change. AI is going to be incredibly valuable for the mechanics of care. It can help people track their moods, it can help with administrative work, and it can provide psychoeducation. But if you're feeling stuck, if the same pattern keeps repeating, if you know what to do but can't seem to do it, that's when human connection becomes essential. Now, if you found this helpful, consider subscribing to the channel or sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. And as always, this isn't where the conversation ends. It's where it begins.